educational video, and this is in response to one of our subscriber and the student Divyani's request. She has asked for this semester 5 unit 2 video, and here you go, Divyani. We are beginning with the lesson The Chimney Sweeper. The Chimney Sweeper is a poem written by William Blake, and he is an 18th century poet, and he wrote two famous collections like Songs of Innocence and of Experience. And today's poem, The Chimney Sweeper, is extracted from Songs of Innocence, and this is about child labor and the church. That means those days in 18th century, London was ruled by the church, the Roman Catholic Church, and all the laws and the policies were given by the church, and they had to follow that. And we will come across one such policy where children were ill treated and they were subjected to child labor, and how William Blake protests the child labor and shouts out the rights of the child in this poem. So here the chimney sweeper is set against the backdrop of child labor. That's what I was telling just now. And here he talks about a young boy who is 6 years old, and then he was actually sold by his parents to some of the landlords, and then he was employed as a chimney sweeper. Can you see the chimney here in this picture? So this is the chimney where the fireplace is connected to this from the house, because you all know London is very cold place, and after the fireplace is done, this is completely filled with black smoke and that powder which is called soot. So that will obstruct the flow of the smoke. So they need some people to clean this, and the elders will not be fit into this pipe, so they choose the small children to go into these pipes and clean with their brushes. So the young children were employed to clean these chimneys actually. So this poem is a painful tale of a boy who is sold off at a tender age by his parents because they were very poor. But and this is very hazardous job. Cleaning the chimney is a very dangerous job, because they may die because of that black smoke, continuous exposure to the black smoke. They may die, and sometimes they used to fall inside the chimney and they used to choke to death. Those were the dangers in cleaning these chimneys. And how they were consoled, poor children, the children find peace and solace in the words of an angel. They say an angel comes and consoles you. The church used to propagate this, and the angel used to promise them everlasting joy in their afterlife. After death you will have a beautiful life. These were the words given to the told to the children, so that they endure hardship in their present life. And Blake critiques the unjust system of organized religion, which offers a false sense of security. Remember this term, students: false sense of security and glory to those suffering from poverty, oppression and exploitation. So these young children were subjected to this oppression and exploitation by the religion. Christianity was prevalent in those days in 18th century, and they were propagating these false sense of security among the students and encourage among the young children, and they were encouraging the children to work under these dangerous conditions. Now let's jump into the poem, The Chimney Sweeper by William Blake. And this poem comprises of 6 stanzas of 4 lines each. And it's very simple to understand. When my mother died, I was very young, and my father sold me while yet my tongue could scarcely cry, weep, 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 weep. So your chimneys I sweep, and in soot I sleep. So here the narrator is a small boy, a young poor boy, who's telling to the reader so that they will understand their predicament. So he says his mother died when he was very young, and the father sold him to landlord, and this, yet my tongue could scarcely cry. So he says, I'm of that tender age, maybe 6 years old, and he used to say, weep, weep, weep. This is actually, it's a pun, students here. the child is very young and he could not pronounce the word sweep. So he's telling it is the sweep as weep, weep, weep. And the other meaning for weep is literally crying, because it is very, very dangerous to clean the chimneys. So that is intended here. The pun is intended here by the author. So your chimneys I sweep and in soot I sleep. He says, where do I sleep? In the soot. See, he's such a tender boy, and then he is being scolded by the landlord or the employer. And soot means the black powder which is released into the pipes of the chimneys. He has to go down this chimney and clean this chimney with these broomsticks or the brushes, students. So that the poem opens with an autobiographical element. He tells about his childhood, that he's very young and his parents or father sold him. So that is an element in the first stanza. Then the second stanza. There's little Tom Dacre who cried when his head, that curled like a lamb's back, was shaved. So there is another boy, Tom, his name is Tom, and he cried because his head was being shaved like a lamb's. He was curled, means he was held very tight. He was moving, so he was very held very tight, and then his head was shaved, and he was crying. So I said, hush, Tom, never mind it, for when your head's bare, you know that the suit cannot spoil your white hair. So he's a blonde boy. Tom is a blonde boy where his hair is white in color or golden in color. He says, your hair will not get black because of the soot or the powder. So let it be shaven. That's what he consoles. The speaker consoles the little boy, Tom, over there. Third stanza. And so he was quiet, and that very night, as Tom was sleeping, he had such a sight that thousands of sweepers, Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack, were all of them locked up in coffins of black. So he says, in the night time when Tom was sleeping, he had a dream. He could see someone. That thousands of sweepers means there were many children throughout London. These children were employed as child laborers. So their names were Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack. They were all locked up in coffins of black. Coffins where the dead bodies are kept. So they were all locked up. That was the sight he had seen in the night. Coffins of black. And by came an angel who had a bright key, and he opened the coffins and set them all free. Then down a green plain, leaping, laughing, they run, and wash in a river and shine in the sun. So then an angel came by. So look at these constructions, and by came. Actually, it should be came by. This is the license the poets enjoy. They can play with the words. You and I cannot play with the words, but the poets can play with the words. So, and by came an angel. And what did the angel have? The angel had a bright key, and he opened the coffins and set them all free. So here this is indicated that after death somebody will come and free you. That's what the consolation part. This is the consolation part from the religious point of view, students. They say if you are a Christian, then you need not worry. So 18th century, almost all the poets were actually appeasing Queen Victoria, who was following Christianism. And then the poets, some or the other part, they saw that this element of Christianity was introduced into their poets. So here also he says an angel came and set them all free. Then down a green plain all the children were laughing and running and washing in a river and shine in the sun. So they were all playing because the angel had a bright key. With the key, the angel opened all the coffins. So that is the religious element, students. They say the children became free. So in the fifth stanza, we see that they're naked and white, all their bags left behind. They rise upon clouds and sport in the wind. So when the angel has released them from the coffins, they all started going up, rising up. They were naked and white in color. So until now, you have seen the black color being told in the poem, students, in the stanzas. All the previous four stanzas talked about black color, which represented darkness, so which is contradictory to white. So white is again an element of Christianity where the angels are mentioned here. So when the angel released them, they all started rising into the clouds and flying in the wind, and all their bags left behind. Here bags represent all their sufferings. They stopped suffering and they just started rising into the sky. And the angel told Tom, if he had been a good boy, he'd have God for his father and never want joy. And the angel told Tom, so don't worry, Tom. If you are a good boy and if you do your duty well, the God will be your father and you never feel want of joy. You will be joyful throughout. And as a result, what happened? And so Tom awoke. This all happened in Tom's dream, student. You remember Tom saw a sight where the angel came and all. Because he were brainwashed, same thing he was dreaming. And so Tom awoke, and we rose in the dark and got with our bags and our brushes to work. So next morning, they all woke up and see here the bags left behind. But here if you see, got with our bags. Means again the same routine has started, and bags and brushes to work. Though the morning was cold, Tom was happy and warm. So if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. So it was very cold in London. But Tom was very happy and feeling very warm because he's no more scared. So if all this is the belief of the children, this is the brainwashing which has been given to the children. So if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. Will not be any kind of harm. And see, they all started doing their work again. They all started getting their bags and brushes and they started the work. So this is the poem, students, very simple and very direct poem. You need not worry about any hard words or any difficult terms to be understood. Let's solve the questions, some of the questions. So answer the following questions in one or two lines. Who is the speaker in the poem? Do you remember who is the speaker? The poor little boy who swept the chimneys and who was sold by the father also, you can say. When was he sold and who sold him? So at the age of 6, his father sold him. Why did little Tom Dacre cry? Because his head was shaved or shaven. That's why he started crying. What is Tom's hair compared to? Is it a metaphor or simile? You remember the comparison, students, metaphor and simile? Simile is a comparison where the word like is used. And metaphor is a comparison where like is not used. A direct implication of comparison will be there. So if you recollect the poem, he used the word like. Means his hair was like a curled lamb's back. Like that it was there. So it's a simile. Who are Dick, Joe, Ned and Jack mentioned in the poem? You all remember? The other boys who lost their lives cleaning the chimneys. Where were the sweepers locked up? In the coffins. Who freed the sweepers and how? An angel with a bright key freed the sweepers. What did the angel tell Tom? The angel told Tom, if they are good, God will be their father and keep them happy. Ninth, how did Tom and the others get ready for work the next day? So the next day they all were happy and warm without any fear. The fear was removed from their brains. Last question, why was Tom happy despite the cold? Because he was told by the angel to be good, to lead a joyful life. So these are the simple questions, students. Hope you all understood the questions. Let us move on to some essay type questions. So these are some of the questions, students, you have to answer. Like, what is the central idea of the chimney sweeper from Songs of Innocence? How does the speaker of the chimney sweeper describe himself? How does the speaker of the poem console Tom Dacre after his head was shaved? Describe the dream of Tom Dacre. And what do the chimney sweeps do after they are set free by the angel? So I have given an essay answer, students. So if you write that essay answer, or if you divide that essay answer, you will get answers to all these questions. So the essay type questions are, you have to write, you are supposed to write in 200 words. Attempt a critical analysis of Blake's poem the Chimney Sweeper from Songs of Innocence, or religion is shown as a source of hope and salvation in the poem. or bring out the irony in the security and false hope offered by the angel to the chimney sweepers in this poem. So these three questions I have given a consolidated answer, student. If you write that answer, it will be relevant for these three questions. Let us look at the answer. I have answered this question, the critical analysis of the poem. So the answer. The Chimney Sweeper is a poem about the corrupting influence of organized religion, that is Christianity, on society. It specifically suggests that the church encroaches on the freedom and joys of childhood and indeed robs children of their youth. They are no more innocent. Actually, children are supposed to be innocent. So, the speaker of the poem is a young chimney sweep. The poem opens with some autobiographical information, that is, he tells the age and all, with the speaker explaining that his mother was dead. He was sold into child labor as a chimney sweep before he could even speak properly. So, he couldn't even pronounce the word sweep properly. He used to say weep, weep, weep instead of sweep. So we find darkness as a recurring image. Recurring image means repeated. The color, dark color is mentioned here repeatedly in Chimney Sweeper. The black coffins, the soot of the chimney and the skin of the chimney sweeper covered in ash signify a loss of innocence. White is often associated with innocence in Christian symbolism. So the vivid imagery of darkness stands in direct contrast with white color. So black color is relevant with the sadness or with darkness. So he also, you can also write, the Chimney Sweeper is a bleak poem. Bleak means very sad and gloomy. Told from the perspective of a chimney sweep, a young boy living in 1700s in London who has to earn a living doing the dangerous work of cleaning soot from people's chimneys. The poem makes no efforts to romanticize this life, portraying it as intensely impoverished and tough. Indeed, the poem argues that this is a kind of exploitation that effectively robs the children of their childhood, stealing their freedom and joy. So this is very important paragraph, student. You have to mention in whatever question asked from this poem. So this talks about the irony of the childhood, actually how the childhood should be there, but how the children are suffering, how the children were suffering in 1700s or the 18th century. Moving ahead, early on the poem establishes a sense of hardship in the lives of young poor boys in 18th century London. This isn't a task that requires much imagination. Chimney sweeping was terrible, dangerous and exhausting work for children. The reader quickly learns that the speaker's mother is dead and that he was sold by his father into labor. Tom Dacre probably had a similar upbringing, that is another boy. Now he has had his head forcibly shaved to improve his effectiveness as a sweep because his curly hair was falling into the eyes and he was not able to do the work properly. That's why the employer got him tonsured. Both children then are forced into a miserable world. Indeed, chimney sweeping makes up pretty much the entirety of the boys' existence. They sweep all day and sleep in soot, both in terms of being dirty when they go to bed and in the way their daily hardship affects their dreams. So throughout the day, if somebody is in hardship and struggling, they get bad dreams only. They get nightmares only, students. So they don't get any sweet dreams. This is the indication of their suffering, how the psychology is affected of the children when they are suffering. So, in fact, it's in one of these dreams that Tom Dacre has the vision that contains the poem's key message in the form of angel. This dream, however, starts bleakly. He imagines that thousands of sweepers like Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack were all of them locked up in coffins of black. The young sweep then is fully aware of the realities of his life. It's going to be short, brutish, and nasty. He knows that he was going to die. His life is going to be very short. These were the fears he had in his mind. The poem then offers a brief glimpse of what childhood should actually be like, which is full of freedom, joy, and nature. This was the actual nature of the childhood, supposed to be, but the reality is totally different. So, on the surface of it, The Chimney Sweep is a poem about salvation from a life of hardship. So actually they die, but this is turned into salvation. Young boys forced into working London's chimneys look to religion as a way of finding hope amid the misery. This hope, they seem to think, comes from the Christian religion. No matter the suffering is earthly life, each good boy who is well behaved and dutiful will be rewarded with joy and God for his father. However, the poem questions whether this is actually true and suggests it might just be a convenient way of making those boys into obedient little workers. But the poem also implicitly considers how religious belief is useful. Underline this word, students, is useful for getting people to accept the hardships in life. After all, what opportunity do the boys actually have to be good, considering all they really do is sweep chimneys and sleep? Perhaps being good means approaching this work with a sense of duty and attentiveness that masks how horrendous the work is. In fact, the poem seems to suggest that religion makes the boys accept the miserable conditions of their lives. That means they should not complain. They should accept it as their duty because a bright future is awaiting them. That is the hope given to them in the form of religion, in the mask of religion. So this is what you have to bring out in your answers, students. Okay, summary you can write. What all things have happened in the poem. The 6 stanza summary you can write, but the actual critique or summary or the critical summary of the poem is this. This is the underlining meaning or the reading. It's called as reading between the lines. You should be in a position to understand what is the author's intention in writing this poem. So that is about the poem, students. Hope you all understood. Still, if you have any doubts, do not hesitate to put them in the comment section. I'll be very happy to clarify your doubts, students. So that is what, with joy, and God will be their father. So next video you'll be having on the Postmaster Prose lesson in Unit 2, students. Thanks for watching, and if you had really made sense out of this tutorial, please like, share, and do not forget to subscribe. It means a lot for me. Bye bye for now. Let's meet up in the next video.